This is the story of an arrogance that tried to pierce the sky. This is the story of an army that made the greatest kings tremble in fear. And this is the story of the day a man brought an elephant to destroy the Kaaba. An unstoppable force of 60,000 bloodthirsty soldiers stood behind him. Leading them was a massive, terrifying elephant named Mahmud. Their one and only goal was to raze the house of Allah to the ground without mercy. But little did they know that to shatter their monumental arrogance, the Lord of the heavens would not send an army of angels or men. He would choose tiny, little birds. This event is recorded in the Quran. This is the story of Surah Al-Fil, a story that shows us exactly what happens when a human being becomes intoxicated by his own power. But what was the real story? Why did Abraha attack the Kaaba in the first place? Let us travel back in time to the ruler of Yemen. Abraha was the ruler of Yemen, a powerful, tyrannical, and fiercely proud king. Year after year, he watched the Arabs travel from far and wide, making the arduous journey to Makkah. They walked around the Kaaba while, slowly, a deep and bitter jealousy took root inside his heart. He began questioning why people flocked to those four simple walls.
Why do people flock to those four simple walls? I will build a monument in Yemen 1,000 times more magnificent than their Kaaba, and they will have no choice but to come.
And so he built a colossal, breathtaking church in Sana'a, Yemen, named Al-Kulays. It was adorned with pure gold, silver, and the rarest jewels that shimmered under the blazing Arabian sun.
From this day forward, no one will go to Makkah. Everyone must perform their pilgrimage to my grand house in Yemen.
But can any structure built by human hands ever compete with the house of Allah? The hearts of the Arabs were tied to the Kaaba, built by Prophet Ibrahim alayhis salam. Not a single person even glanced toward Abraha's luxurious monument. In fact, one Arab man, deeply offended by the decree, traveled to Yemen and defiled his beautiful church with filth.
When Abraha found out, he was completely blinded by rage, and fury consumed every rational thought inside him.
My lobe walls had to have been breached.
Abraha swore an oath that he would not rest until he marched to Makkah and tore the Kaaba down brick by brick with his own unstoppable force.
He assembled a massive army of 60,000 warriors, and at the very front of this terrifying legion he placed an enormous elephant named Mahmud, a creature most Arabs had never seen before. Any tribe that tried to stand in Abraha's way was brutally crushed. His ego swelled with every victory as he marched relentlessly forward until his ruthless army stopped just outside Makkah.
Who can possibly stop me? I have the numbers, I have the power, I have the beasts, and no force on earth can stand before me now.
Abraha sent his soldiers ahead to raid Makkah, stealing livestock and camels from the locals. Among the stolen animals were 200 camels belonging to the leader of Makkah. And this leader was no ordinary man. This was Abdul Muttalib, the grandfather of our beloved Prophet Muhammad PBUA, whose presence alone carried dignity and unshakable calm. When Abdul Muttalib entered, Abraha was entirely taken aback by his majestic presence. He stepped down from his throne and asked with controlled authority,
"Tell me, what is it that you want?"
Your soldiers have taken 200 of my camels, and I have come to request that my property be returned to me.
When you walked in, I held you in high regard, but hearing you speak has dropped my respect for you. I have come to destroy the Kaaba, and you speak only of camels.
I am the lord of the camels, therefore I protect what is mine. As for the house, Atta's house has its own lord, and he knows exactly how to protect it.
Abdul Muttalib returned and told his people to evacuate Makkah and take refuge in the mountains, leaving the Kaaba entirely in the hands of its lord.
Advance now, bring the Kaaba down, and let nothing remain standing before my unstoppable might today!
The handler struck the beast with an iron hook and commanded him to move forward, but suddenly the massive elephant dropped to its knees before advancing toward the Kaaba. They beat him and struck his head with heavy iron bars, yet he refused to move a single inch toward Makkah, though when turned toward Yemen or Syria he would walk briskly without hesitation.
Even an animal understood the terrifying consequence of advancing against the house of Allah, and as confusion spread among the soldiers, a dark shadow began casting over the sky.
It was not a cloud but massive flocks of birds, the ababil, and Allah says in Surah Al-Fil,
Have you not considered how your Lord dealt with the companions of the elephant? And he sent against them birds in flocks, every single bird carrying 3 tiny stones, 1 in its beak and 2 in its claws, stones of baked clay from the fires of hell. The moment a pebble struck a soldier, it pierced through him, and Allah paints the aftermath in the Quran with 1 chilling verse, and he made them like eaten up straw.
That unstoppable army of 60,000, that towering pride and unmatched power all turned to dust, and Abraha suffered a horrific, agonizing death as his flesh fell apart before reaching Yemen.
The Lord of the house had protected his house, and Allah preserved this event in Surah Al-Fil until the day of judgment so humanity would remember. My friends, true power belongs only to Allah, so ask only from Him and place your trust only in Him, for this story stands as an eternal lesson against arrogance.